Cześć pokututa i Takrenko. Jak Oscar.
Well, I'm a little late on this one, but I was able to track down the NECA The Evil Dead Ultimate Ash. It's a little hard to find NECA at retail here in Canada. Walmart doesn't carry it, we don't have Target. Luckily, Toys R Us seems to have picked up all of NECA's Haulathon stuff, which includes this, Black and White Wolfman, a ton of Ninja Turtle stuff, so that was a really nice surprise to find. NECA always does a great job on their packaging, and I kind of feel guilty throwing it away. Here we have a nice faux VHS cover, complete with the horror sticker there. On the side, a nice profile of Ash. Look at the figure here. As always, we have the window. Very nice stuff. Let's take a look at the figure. So I think with NECA, you can always expect really good sculpt and paint apps, and that's the case here. Very nice look, very early 80s look here for Ash, as he looked in the first film. We've had a ton of Ashes from NECA in the past. Nothing from the first film, though, so it's nice to have representation from the original. Overall, excellent look. We'll look at some of the finer details. So you can see they've added a dry brush to the shirt here. It really accentuates the sculpt. Some very fine details on the face. You can see some subtle stubble. Excellent sculpt on the hair. The sideburns looking good. This one looks a little painted on this side. Look at the detail in the denim, in the jeans. That comes off very well. And we see a mix of paints. The belt has kind of a shinier paint to it. The rest of the clothes, they've gone matte. They seem really good at nailing textures and getting the colors what they're supposed to be. Nothing here is too shiny. It doesn't look terribly plasticky. The skin tone they've really got down, and there's no shine on the skin. Paint detail on the buttons there. Some on the shoe as well. And you can even see they've sculpted in a sock. Ultimate Ash comes with 3 head sculpts. And I'll be honest, I don't think they nail any of them. It's there. They've got the chin down. The little scar on the chin you can see, which is true to how Bruce Campbell looks. The hair, very, very 80s-y. But it's not perfect. I see him. I see Bruce Campbell. But it's a little flawed. Here's the second head sculpt. Mouth a little open. Brows furrowed. Again, very good. We got the scar on the chin. And it looks to be face printing, which we haven't always seen for NECA. I don't know when they started doing that, but it looks good. Obviously, zoomed in like this, you see some dots because it is printed on. In person, that really doesn't come across. The final head sculpt, kind of scared, mouth open. I don't know what it is, but this really reminds me of the end of Sleepaway Camp. Looking a little goofy, but it is Ash Williams. It kind of fits. Good variety in the heads. I'd have liked maybe a screaming head or something like that, but maybe that's a little nitpicky. He comes with 4 hands in total. Here we have a left hand, which is a gripping hand. We have some paint rub. This isn't from accessories or anything. This is how it came, and it's the only one that has this. I don't know what happened to this. I don't hate it, because Ash gets pretty grimy in the movie, but there it is. This is actually the only left hand he comes with. The other 3 are all right hands. We have another gripping hand here. I believe this is for the lantern. He's shown on the box holding the lantern with this hand, and this is how he holds it in the movie. We have another gripping hand. It's just kind of a basic hand for just your everyday grippage. Then we have a gun-holding hand with a trigger finger. These all look good to me. Good sculpted detail. Some mishaps in the casting. You can see some bubbles there in the knuckle. I wish we had come with some non-gripping hands, some gestural things, some fists maybe. As it is, all these hands are made for gripping. So it does limit the displaying a little bit. I don't like having empty gripping hands. I would like some gestural stuff, some splayed open hands, something like that. We'll move on to the accessories. Now, I haven't experienced any breakage with the figure itself, but with 2 of the accessories, I have run into some breakage. starting here with the lantern. Excellent detail and paint on this. You can see inside there's a little flame in there. Now where I ran into the breakage is putting it in his hand. This very thin piece broke here. I think a dab of glue will make that not a problem. We also have a shotgun. This is the other accessory that broke a little bit on me. You can see this bit here. His thumb or some part of his hand snagged on it and it broke a little bit. It's not off. It's just kind of hanging on by a thread. But some nice detail on this. You can see the grip has some detail. The paint is excellent. The metal has a bit of sparklage. Some more detail in the grip there. Pretty happy with this overall. We have a double-headed axe as well. The metal looks great. Again, it's got that kind of sparkly nature to it. Some excellent wood grain sculpted on it. And I think we do get a paint wash, which makes it look like wood and kind of accentuates the wood grain we see. At the top, we have some detail there. They haven't painted the wood at the very top, but they have sculpted in those little notches there to keep the wood in the axe head. I quite like this. We have the chainsaw looking great. Now, he doesn't get a chainsaw hand in the first film, so it's got the full handle on there. But some excellent detail, some rust, different tones for different parts of it. The chain metal is different from the shaft here. Some blemishes here and there. It looks old, kind of oily, kind of rusty. I like the look of this. And finally, we have the reel-to-reel tape recorder. I believe this was used in another Ash release. I think it came with the Evil Dead 2 Ultimate Ash. This looks great. It's not completely smooth. It's got kind of a rough texture to it. But again, some good paint detail. The buttons are all painted. The tape there is painted. We have detail across the whole thing, even the bottom of it. Very nice. Just some very fine paint applications. We'll take a look at the articulation, and this is probably my biggest issue with the figure, is the limited articulation. He's about as articulated as the Ultimate Evil Dead 2 Ash, which was released several years ago. This is a 2022 release. We know NECA can do double elbow joints, but we have pretty basic articulation here. You can still pose him around and do some fun stuff, but nothing too dynamic. And with a character like Ash, I'm going to want to do some fun dynamic poses. So for the head, some pretty good side-to-side movement. He looks down a decent amount, and that much up. Your basic shoulder here only goes out about this much. Single jointed elbow. That's about as far as you're going to get, a little past 90 degrees. Basic hinge on the wrist. The legs go out about that far. This is rubbery, so you'll get a bit of flex on that. They don't go very far forward. And they actually go a decent way back. Single joint on the knee, which I'm cool with. You'll get about that far back, and there is a swivel there as well. For the feet, we do get a hinge with an okay range of motion and an ankle rocker that again gives you some okay motion. I didn't need to heat this up at all. NECA is infamous for having stuck joints or brittle joints that you need to heat up with warm water or a hairdryer before posing. Didn't need to do that here. He was good out the packaging. I wasn't worried about him breaking at all. So that is good. Forgot to mention the waist. There is something in there. Get his arm out the way. It goes... It's not gonna... No, you're not gonna get anything crazy, but it's there. You get rotation as well. Now, some of the limited posing comes into play with the accessories. You can get him in a good two-handed pose with the gun, but the fingers bend in a really weird way. I don't think any of the other hands are better suited for it. I think they're all gonna bend if you try and get him holding the gun. This looks okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. There are some iconic poses, though, that you will not be able to get him to do, including having the axe slung over his shoulder. I can't find a way to do it. They kind of show him doing it on the box, not fully, but pretty close. I don't know how they do that. They might have popped the joint out to make it not quite fully be in there and give it a bit of tilt. Almost like that, but even so, it's a pretty iconic pose that is associated with the first film, and he cannot do it. As for the pose when he's holding the chainsaw above his head with two hands, this is as close as I could get. I don't know, even if he was double jointed, if you could still do that. It's a pretty complicated pose. But as you can see, the limited articulation limits what you can do with it. He's a very expressive character, and I would have appreciated some double joints. We saw double joints on the Ash vs. Evil Dead releases, and those went a long way to help that. It doesn't ruin it. You can get him in some fun poses still, but yeah, I mean, those classic NECA joints aren't going to do a whole lot when it comes to dynamic posing. I'll give you some comparisons. Here he is with an Evil Dead 2 Ash from NECA. This is the one that came in the 2-pack with Evil Ed. Height's pretty much the same. I think with NECA you can expect a pretty consistent height. I did try swapping heads between these two. They are incompatible. The pegs that the heads go on are completely different between these two. Here he is with an older Ash from Ash vs. Evil Dead. He's looking slightly taller, but nothing egregious. Just for shits, I brought down my Mezco 1/12 collection Evil Dead 2 Ash. As the name suggests, the figure is 1/12 scale, so he's not going to be as tall, but he actually comes in pretty close. We'll get him next to some Deadites now, and this is where the fun begins. Here he is with Evil Ed from the Ed and Ash 2-pack. This was my first time picking up Ed and playing around with him for quite a while. That is a really good figure. He has double-jointed elbows, the hands there, very expressive and emotive. His jaw is articulated. Hold on. And we have him here with the Ash vs. Evil Dead Henrietta. Feels like I should censor this. But again, I had a lot of fun playing around with Henrietta. I hadn't picked up the figure in ages. So there we have it. That is the NECA The Evil Dead Ultimate Ash. And overall, I like the figure. Good mix of accessories, 3 different heads, but I do wish they'd gone just a step further. Double jointed elbows, a bit more variety in the hands, maybe some more gestural hands or some fists. I can see them re-releasing this, all bloodied up and with different head sculpts. But it was fun to open up a new Evil Dead figure, and picking up the old ones, I had a ton of fun with them. Now this figure commemorates the 40th anniversary of the Evil Dead, and this year is also the 30th anniversary of Army of Darkness. I am really hoping NECA is working on some Army of Darkness figures. It's probably the Evil Dead movie that lends itself to toys the most. You've got 4 or 5 different versions of Ash you can do, all kinds of Deadites, warrior skeletons, and stuff like that. NECA has done some Army of Darkness stuff in the past, but not nearly as articulated as the modern Evil Dead figures. As for this Ash, if you're looking for one Ash to get and you're deciding between them, definitely shop around. There are a ton of options from NECA, and I don't think any of them are crazy expensive. They all come with different accessories, head sculpts. It depends on the look you want. I don't think it's a must-buy, but it's a good effort from NECA, and I am glad we are seeing some new Evil Dead stuff again.